Hi, I'm Joey Brock. I'm here at Ro2 Gallery in downtown Dallas, Texas. Here in my current exhibit called In America, which is actually a direct reference to Robert Frank's book of photography, The Americans, that was published in Paris in 1958. The show started out, the genesis of the show started out as a self-portrait that I did at an art residency in Bushwick, Brooklyn, in December of 2018. I had just turned 50 years old, and I was really reflecting on my life, and as you do when you hit that age in your life. And what I really wanted to think about in the self-portrait was growing up gay in small town Texas, the grandson of a Baptist minister in the 70s, and how that affected me, especially dealing with discrimination, prejudice, kind of reconciling how religion had affected me and my point of view, and how that affected how I felt about myself and my sexuality. So I wanted to explore that in my self-portrait. So one of the pieces in this show is called Silent Scream, and it's actually a picture of me screaming, which is pretty poignant because it kind of encapsulates how I felt growing up, feeling isolated, anger, fear, frustration, on not feeling like I could be authentic. And along with that portrait, I did some nude Polaroids for the exhibit. And they were actually housed in styrofoam packaging material that was on printer cartridges I got at work. I was really fascinated by this material. It kind of represents the skin we're in, protecting ourselves, how we protect ourselves. And I used them in the show to house the Polaroids for the exhibit. What was interesting about them is they resembled a crucifix, which was very like a metaphor for how I grew up. But also they had holes in them, so I ended up using those to frame out portraits. The Polaroids. So the viewer was forced to go and engage with the Polaroid and look through the hole like a peephole, therefore becoming a voyeur for the exhibit. And so what was interesting was my discomfort then became their discomfort. So that was the beginning of the show. And that was the genesis of starting a social practice called One Portrait Project. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to expand on the conversation and really explore other people's experience with discrimination and prejudice. Opening it up to a broader audience, all races, age, backgrounds. So to date, I have interviewed and photographed 60 people, aged 24 to 86 at this point. I invited them to come to my studio. I started out inviting friends first because it's easier to get friends to come to the studio. And then from there, friends of friends, and eventually I was able to start getting strangers to come. There's also mixed media collage work in the show, which is a material, I use Mylar drafting film in my work. I've been using this material for many years, probably 15 years or so. I'm really pretty much known as being an abstract mixed media artist, so this show is kind of an evolution for me. I really wanted to have a more content-based project that could really give something back socially to people. And so even though portrait or figurative work isn't something I've always done, the material use is very much the same and in the same vein as what I've done before. What I was hoping to capture, I picked certain people from the project to do this collage work, and I think it really represents how layered we are as humans. We're very complex creatures, and I chose to hide and reveal certain parts of their faces. And it's kind of my take on a modern day portrait. All the portraits at first glance might look like they're a Photoshop piece of work, but actually there are multiple layers and pieces that are architecturally held together with embroidery thread. So even though it seems real simple on first glance, they're actually very complex and planned. And so what I'm hoping for with this exhibit is that giving this information to a broader audience will expand people's ability to be more empathetic. empathetic listening, challenging identity and our perceptions of people. I think right now in the country and in the world especially, it's really lacking in our culture is to stop and be present and to listen to other people's point of views. People have something to say and we need to listen